Hi everyone, this is Studio X, and in this video I will be going through some Photoshop basics on how to edit your photos and retouch a couple of things. So let's get started. I have a photo here which is a RAW straight from a Sony camera, so all I'm going to do is just click and drag it to the Photoshop logo, and it's going to open up the camera raw editor where I can make any corrections to my image that I need to make. I don't think there's too many things that need to be changed, except I'm just going to push up the clarity just a little bit. I'm going to bring out some shadows slightly, and that should be good for now. So I'm going to hit open image so it opens up in Photoshop. So once the image is opened, I can start making corrections. So in order to take out this string here, I'm going to use the patch tool, which can be found if you press and hold the spot healing brush, and you'll find the patch tool. It should be the third tool here. So once you click it, you're going to have to drag around to create an area. So I'm just going to drag around this string so I can pick out what I need to take out. There we go. And you can just click and drag and select a area to basically copy an image from, and once you let go, it will patch up that area. So now you can hit Command D if you're on a Mac, or Control D if you are on a PC, to deselect that area, and now you can see that the string has been removed. So let's do that same thing again to this other piece here. And once again, click and drag, and you'll be sampling an area to basically paste. So this looks pretty good. And once again, Command D just to deselect that part. So that looks fine. It just kind of looks like there's another one of these folds here, which I'm actually going to probably just make darker later in the process. So if you zoom in here, now we need to do a little more finer detail work. So in order to do that, I'm just going to take the clone stamp tool and make it just a little bit smaller, which you can do by going up here and changing the size, or you can on your keyboard press the close and open bracket in order to make it smaller and bigger. So next thing I'm just going to do is hold Option and click my area where I'm going to be sampling. And then I'm just going to move it over and click and start dragging to basically paint. If your thing is not painting it very well, your opacity might be down, which mine is at 25%. So I'm going to bring it up to 100 and return back to my zone and start painting away this string. So that's looking pretty good. And I'm just going to brush away the top as well. I'm just going to sample this part here, and I'm just going to paint it away, and now it's gone. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going to sample here and just paint away the mess, Great. So once again, we're just going to have to do that a little bit, and to just get rid of all the little mistakes and the things we don't care about. This I'm not too worried about. It doesn't look too bad here. So I can actually just take the spot healing brush tool, which is going to automatically try to fix it basically. And I'm just going to draw a strip so it doesn't look too good. So I'm going to draw a thing in the other direction here to try to fix it, which still doesn't work too well. So once again, what I'm going to do is just go back to my patch tool and do that one more time. So if some technique doesn't work, you can always mix and match them. You can try them. Worst thing you could do is just paint it by hand, which is going to take some time. But it looks like the spot brush actually worked pretty well. Now I just need to fix these little corrections here, which I'll just do with the clone stamp. So I'm just going to sample this part here, and I can just clone stamp this weird dark area that appeared here. So that's looking fine. That actually over here doesn't look too bad, so I'm just gonna make a very small brush, choose this here, and just paint away this one tiny noticeable little line here. Great. So now you're done with the mistakes here, and the main idea is basically complete of a floating razor. So next thing we are going to need to do is fix any little dust or dirt that we have on either the glass or these bottles here, which should be really easy fix too, just by using the spot healing brush. So change to your spot healing brush. Once again, you can adjust the size up here or with the brackets, and let's go around and see what we have here. So I see some really slight small dots here, which you can just click on and they basically go away because they're very small, so there's not really much work getting them out. So, and if you see there's a weird little dot here that basically comes up after I picked it, it's just not sampling the area correctly, so you can just make some minor adjustments by brushing horizontally if the lines are vertical. So I basically do a perpendicular motion to which the lines go. So there's a scratch here on this piece of rubber, so I'm just gonna brush it with the tool, and looks like we fixed the issue here. There we go, this is looking pretty good. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to crop the image because I'm planning to post this on Instagram. So I'm just going to crop it about like this. This looks pretty good and symmetrical, so I'm going to crop it here. And another thing I want to do is to just make the background a little darker, just to make all of the elements pop out a lot more. So in order to do that, I'm just going to duplicate the background layer and hit OK. Next thing I'm going to do is go into my adjustments and go into my levels. I'm going to hide my background copy, which is on the top, and move my levels to the middle. That way it's only affecting the background layer on the bottom. And let's play around with the levels and just get it to be a lot darker. So I really like the darkness that we have here, so I'm going to keep it here. And now for the background copy, I'm going to enable it. And I'm going to take my quick selection tool, which again you can also control the brush size by the brackets. And I'm going to select the elements that I want to keep the exposure that they're on now. So I'm just going to run around with the brush and select the area I need. So now that I have everything that I need selected, I will go up here to Refine Edge. I will click on it, and it will basically show me my selection. And as you can see, the edges are very sharp, and that's not what I'm looking for here because I have a very shallow depth of field. So these glasses, for example, are very blurred out, so they obviously need a blurred edge. So I'm just going to push the radius up a little, and it's starting to look a little better, but I'm just gonna push it up even more. And then I'm gonna smooth it out slightly as well. Okay, great, this is kind of what I'm looking for. I'm going to hit OK. And what it's basically going to do is just change the selection properties, so then we can do anything we want with this selection. So in this case, we are going to make it into a layer mask. So we're going to go into Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal Selection. And now you can see that we have a darker background than we did before. So if you want to see, if you want to learn more about the layer mask, I have a link to it right here that you can click on. and it'll take you to the layer mask video. So there's a couple of rough edges over here, and because it's a layer mask, we can easily change that by getting our brush and making the hardness 0, so it can be a very smooth brush. And we're just going to make it a bigger size, and we're going to start brushing it here just to get a little smoother edge on the glass, as well as the bottom over here. So as you can see, I'm just going to click and move this and just get a much smoother edge here. So the background darkness is actually very extreme, so I'm going to go back into my levels and double click on this piece here so you can actually change it. So I'm going to make it just a little less extreme. Also, there's a weird looking edge down here, so I'm going to go into my layer mask and just fix that as well, just by getting my brush, making sure I'm on the layer mask, and just brushing away. Perfect. So now, as you can see, the razor here stands out a lot in the photo. So if you went from a pretty basic photo to a little floating razor highlight, which I think looks pretty good. This basically was just some simple retouching that we did to this photo to really bring it out to life. So another last thing that I'm going to do, which I really like doing, is making gradient overlays. So I'm going to make a new layer. And under the paint bucket tool, there's a gradient tool. So I'm just going to choose my colors, which in this case are going to be blue, that I'll sample from the brush itself. And just make it a little brighter, bright blue here. And you're probably going to choose something just a little more neutral, like an orange here. It's kind of muted orange. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm just going to paint my gradient. I want the blue to be on the bottom and the orange to be right on the top. And this actually looks pretty good. And I'm going to change the blending mode to something like maybe soft light or hard light, maybe even overlay. It just takes a lot of playing around with to get the look you're looking for. And I'm just going to bring it down way more. So at around 12%, it looks pretty good. And you can see we just added just a slight tone of color here to bring some interest into our photo here. I actually might take the gradient and just bring it out slightly more, just to get a smoother transition of color. Yeah, so I'm liking that quite a lot, except maybe instead of the peach color here, I'm just going to go with a very toned and muted peach. So let's just push this color again, because I just don't want too much color to be on the actual razor here itself. So as you can see, that color does bring in a little detail, and it looks pretty good. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something new from it. I will be making a lot more Photoshop tutorials if that is what people want, as well as other tutorials as well. If you can, please support me on Patreon. You will have access to these tutorials up to 7 days in advance, as well as project files with my tutorials and lots of other free stuff. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.